What highly illegal thing took place at your high school? Some girl brought cupcakes made with cum, called them cum cakes, proceeded to ask everyone in class if they wanted one. High school coach didn't keep tabs on our team during a week-long beach trip to play games in Florida. Parents supplied kids with alcohol. One of my teammates snaps his neck diving into the ocean. Coach fired, kid paralyzed. Literal chaos within our baseball program ensued. It was awful. I transferred. Not sure if illegal, but a girl smeared her own poop all over the bathroom walls and mirrors. Could this count as vandalism? Spanish teacher got arrested for illegally bringing over a 14-year-old Argentinian girl and keeping her as a hanky-panky toy. But since she was here illegally and wouldn't testify against him, she was deported and he came back to school later in the year. Come to find out, a couple of years later, he had molested like half of the girls' volleyball team he was the coach of. My senior year, one of my friends was murdered by her boyfriend, and he drove around with her body in the trunk for a couple of hours. Also, a couple of kids got caught giving each other piercings in the stairwell. There were 4 freshmen in the bathroom stall just vaping, and a teacher came in, so they freaked out and didn't want to get in trouble, so they thought calling the cops on the teacher for harassment would get them out of trouble. They got expelled an hour after the cops arrived. We had a science teacher say, "If you don't put goggles on, I'm going to have to spray you in the eyes with Lysol," which was probably not illegal until the student tried to call her bluff. She wasn't bluffing. This was middle school, but our computer teacher was fired after they caught him watching porn in the computer lab during lunch. Rumor has it he was watching on the big projector screen they use for teaching. The cool gang of kids, not me, I've never been anywhere near cool, got into a dare contest, which ended up with one of them having to get a pair of knickers from a particular girl. She didn't want to play the game. So he ended up cornering her in a boy's toilet and cutting them off her with a knife. We never saw him at that school again. All games were banned. A teacher was caught having hanky-panky with an autistic student. I believe the student claimed to have loved her. Her dad was also a teacher at the same school, and he left after the incident came out. Edit: teacher was female, student was male. Little bit of backstory first. Our school had a big renovation ongoing, and because of that, almost half of the school was closed down. The closed part included the biggest bathrooms, and because of that, the school administrator ordered 2 toilet barracks to be placed on the schoolyard. So, some 7th to 9th graders decided to buy some toilet pipe opener liquid, I don't know what is the correct term, and aluminum foil. They put the aluminum foil inside some plastic bottles and poured a little pipe opener in them with the foil. As someone has probably done this before, knows what is going to happen next. They stuck 6 bottles total inside the toilet bowls in every stall and 1 barrack and blew them up due to the chemical reaction between the foil and the opener. All the pipings of the single barrack were destroyed due to water pressure inside the pipes. Turns out that the 2 barracks had connected piping, and the water that was in the bowls in the other barracks shot up to the ceiling due to pressure. The students never got caught, and if I remember correctly, the incident ended up costing a hefty amount for the school administration. The barracks were taken away and were replaced with new ones. After the incident, every recess there was a teacher in front on the barracks monitoring everyone going in and out. Nothing happened to the new toilets. Pre-internet days, kinda, CDs were a thing. I had a massive CD collection and a giant book in my locker. I typed up lists of all the artists and albums I owned, so I had these flyers everywhere, and for $3 a CD, I'd burn you a copy. This was right when CD burners came out, and my stepdad was super into the latest and greatest tech, so we had the coolest gadgets when they came out. I eventually was caught, but for a time, I made killer money. A special ed kid got jumped by a dude on his way to school and was beaten bloody. The whole thing was recorded by the guy's girlfriend and her friend. The whole time they were cheering him on, yelling things like, "World Star," and so on. She later posted it on Instagram, which peed off everyone, and just about everyone wanted to beat the dude up in the vid. He was given temporary suspension, frickin' BS, while the police took care of him. From what I know, he was given an assault charge. Also, side note, there was a girl at my school who was in minor league boxing who was ready to beat him up. She even tried looking for him by his house. Edit: for those of you arguing if the boxer would have won the fight, can confirm she was a hell of a lot bigger than the guy. In comparison, he was a pretty skinny dude. Our football coach took off with one of the girls in the high school and moved to Mexico and married her. He had a wife and kids. They then hired a brand new football coach who was 23 years old. Before the end of his first year, he was hooking up with an 18-year-old senior girl. They also took off and went somewhere. We went without a coach for a couple years. My teacher was molesting my 14-year-old classmate for a while. He went to jail and is still there 20 years later because another past victim came forward, so that's pretty illegal. One of the old teacher's aides got arrested for child porn and filming the elementary kid's bathroom. Drama teacher slept with the hottest chicks in class and nothing ever happened to him. I now feel like I had a really tame school experience. Child pornography filming. 2 underage seniors from my graduating class filmed a full-on porno with some 20-year-old dude. Circulated to like 30 kids in the class and was a huge scandal for the school for a while. One of them was expelled while the other was just given a suspension because she otherwise had a clean record, then was on one of the sports teams. Not sure if they ever found the dude. Not my school, but friends. 2 students threw a chair from a balcony. They've hit an 8-month pregnant teacher. She passed out. The principal refused to let an ambulance evacuate her from school grounds because it had tattered their school's reputation. And so she's had the custodian drag the unconscious, bleeding pregnant teacher out of the school, and only then she called the ambulance. The teacher had a stillbirth consequently to that incident. Edit. Spells. Edit 2. After reading some of your comments, change the word miscarriage to stillbirth. 2 kids had hanky-panky in the toilets a few years ago, and other 2 kids burnt a desk inside the class. Grew up in a small town. When a lamb got sick and was dying, our AG teacher just had us go out to behind the classroom building and shoot it. We ended up pulling a massive tapeworm out of it. Definitely not legal to have guns on campus, let alone use them. A teacher and an administrator embezzled millions. I didn't even know all this happened until years after graduation. Some of my friends had a teacher in question. Freshman female would hang out in a teacher's classroom almost every day after school. People thought he was just a club sponsor and that she was very involved. A few weeks in the semester, they were caught by police in an Airbnb and he was arrested. A teacher harassed like 12 students. The issue is everybody loved that guy. He won Best Teacher Award like 2 days before his arrest. P.S. No, this isn't Persona 5. This actually did happen. I'm not making a clever joke about Kamoshida, although I probably would have. This was a real guy, one Mr. Chu. Had a pretty controversial case involving a handicapped student who had cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. His parents filed a lawsuit accusing 2 of his handlers of abusing him by dumping him out of his chair and forcing him to wear a neck brace so he'd look them in the eye. Worst part was, I don't think the handler suffered any consequences. I looked up articles on it, and all of them highlight the abuse and lawsuit, but none follow through with the results, which is frustrating. I had a guy selling heroin. After that, there was a weekly police presence. Also, a kid bound the girl to a chair, gagged her, and stuffed her in a cupboard in the woodworking shop. He claims it was to help her complete the sponsored silence she had been doing that day. Kids were selling candy and snacks to other students, obliterating the monopoly that the vending machines once held. Administration cut that poop out real quick. Playing unblock games. My golf coach got arrested in Kansas for driving with a spare tire full of cocaine. Half my school burned down because some idiot thought it would be a good idea to light a wrestling mat on fire. Pro tip, wrestling mats are very flammable. Weren't able to have sports all year, talent shows and concerts in the auditorium. Benefit was we got 2 weeks off from school while they vented/cleaned up the mess. All I can remember was the kid was a minor, so the parents pretty much owed millions to the school. Update. Just Googled the kid's name and found out he died a year later in a car accident near the school he transferred to because he was expelled, obviously. Over spring break one year, the entire hockey team and the cheerleaders all went to rehab. The goalie was dealing coke to all of them. I interviewed to teach at a high school once. One of the questions from the school board was, "Can you avoid sleeping with your students?" Me. Yes. Yes, I can. School board thinks I'm great. Principal thinks I'm great. Superintendent of schools doesn't think I'm cut out for the job, gives me the runaround. Principal is trying to help me push through it and get hired, but I finally give up and get a normal job elsewhere. Superintendent hires his nephew, wonder why he gave me the runaround, who promptly has hanky-panky with a student and gets fired. I still see the principal occasionally. He always apologizes. I wanted to hire you. He was way too nice to have been stuck at that lousy school. Basketball coach was freaking players' parents. When faculty and authorities started looking into the situation, they found that he was also posting in the classified ads as a prostitute. Edit. Also forgot to mention the coach that replaced him was living in one of the basketball team locker rooms for a while. That whole situation didn't make much sense to me. Another edit. A lot of people are asking why it is illegal to frick a parent. I don't think it is, but the faculty started looking into it after complaints of favoritism toward the children of these parents. Basically, I frick your mom, you stay varsity. And then the prostitution was found quite easily. It was a small town. The cheerleaders got caught selling morphine. The football team got into a brawl with a rival school at a local pizza place over said morphine scandal. A huge fiasco over a kid putting baking soda and vinegar in a test tube and sealing it and taping it under a lunch table till it exploded. Edit. To clarify, the baking soda vinegar incident was completely separate from the morphine and brawl one. Sorry for the confusion. The principal was fricking students. A few years after I graduated, some parents found out and took him to court. He hanged himself before he could be convicted. Edit. Corrected the word from hung. Probably the pedophilic cult masked as a NAAA group that met in the basement somewhat regularly. This year, the fire alarm's gone off twice because of kids smoking weed in the bathroom. Freshmen vape in plain view of teachers, and no one cares. Someone got shot during an after-school drug deal a couple months ago. Edit. More. Freshman year, my Spanish teacher got arrested for physically stalking a former student who he'd been having hanky-panky with since before her 18th birthday. Edit. Even more. We're supposed to have pep rallies about 8 to 10 times a year. About 9 of the last 12 scheduled pep rallies have been canceled due to fistfights and credible shooting threats. Edit 3. 2 sophomores died last summer in a drunk driving incident, crashed into a tree at some ridiculous speed. The driver survived, but that his passengers... Q. Edit 4. My mom got an email from my brother's middle school sometime in January saying some kid got caught with a 6-inch saw blade and a hit list. Super bizarre. My brother hadn't heard about it until my mom showed him the email the next day. Someone in my English class said their brother's name was on the list. Someone in my math class recently snorted 2 Adderalls between class. I've got tons more of these, but I'm gonna try not to add anything else. See you on a future post where I dredge up more repressed memories. Knew a guy that's old cocaine in class and tried to offer a girl pot to sleep with him. There was also some public underage hanky-panky in one of the halls that led to a girl starving herself until she miscarried. A good friend of my dorky group brought contraband Russian vodka to high school all the time. He ran a scam selling fake web hosting and once got into real trouble for making one of these shock websites, a la Goatsy, with malicious code in it that forced him to physically restart the computer if you wanted out of it. Ah yes, he got into trouble because he made another kid's name appear on it, implying he was the guy being featured in the shocking porno. Other than that, my high school only had the usual things: drug dealers, thieves, and a certain teacher that tried to coerce girls into giving him S favors in exchange of grades, and failing miserably. A terrorist bomb exploded just in front of our school when I was in middle school. We were studying when it happened. There was a big smoke, glasses were shattered, everybody rushed outside as soon as they heard the explosion. I just stood dumbstruck in my seat for a full 10 seconds before being able to move. Years later, this is still the most overwhelming experience in my life. Not highly illegal, but not legal either. I figured out how to make fake IDs in my home darkroom and showed a friend how to do it. This was in the early 70s, before Photoshop, when analog darkrooms and chemical-based photography were the only option. He went into production in the school darkroom. His quality sucked, he got caught. My quality was excellent, but I only made one for me. The principal hired a bunch of students to sell steroids at the local gym. Same principal gave the same students a list of kids who were questioning their sexuality with the counselor before GSAs were a thing, and they had all their lockers bashed in with a baseball bat. One of the kids had his parents notified and was beat within an inch of his life. Art teacher used to hotbox her classroom, then used the kiln fan to pull all the smoke out. Edit. Sorry, that is confusing. K principal organizes mob. Mob beats up gay kids. Mob calls super religious parents and doubts gay kids. Parents beat gay kid. Parents get anger management and community service because they're an influential community member. Someone took a poop on the floor during a strike. Kid got together with all his friends and got nudes of girls from school, all underage, and burned at DVD with all the pics and started selling it. When the principal found out, and instead of turning it over to the police, he got a copy and was caught jerking off to it in his office. School swept it under the rug, and he used some kind of clause in his contract basically saying they couldn't legally say anything about it. He got quietly retired, and they got a new principal. This happened after I got out of school, and we used to always joke that he was a pedophile. Crazy poop. 2 students planned and carried out a coordinated attack on one of the math teachers by waiting by the top of the stairs between periods, and when he passed by them to go down the steps, one of them pushed him from behind while the other put his leg out to trip him. The teacher fell down the steps and broke his neck and back and was paralyzed from the neck down. The kid's reasoning? Because one of them was dropped from the basketball team because he was failing that teacher's math class. Both of them were 15 years old, so they didn't get jail time. They both got expelled and were sent to juvenile detention. The teacher sued the school district and got a settlement in the lower 7-digit range. A bunch of the guys had a fight club. It had been going on for years. No face hits, and there was an under 18 and over 18 group, so if they got caught, nobody got assault on minor charges. It was actually really well planned and had been going on for years, until one dumbbutt junior broke the first rule of Fight Club and posted a video. A bunch of kids got suspended, I think. A couple of the seniors got probation or deferment. Edit. I think it's wild how many of you ask if we went to the same high school. I've gotten multiple different countries and at least a 15-year range. Murder. A kid in the grade ahead of me murdered his sister behind the school. An acquaintance of mine helped him bury the body. Edit. Wow, this blew up. So this guy was in my English class when I was a sophomore. He was a junior. He was a tennis star on the school team. Seemed real straight-laced. I didn't know his sister. It's rumored that he abused her and she was going to tell, but it's just rumor. What did happen is they had an argument behind the high school and he hit her over the head with a flashlight and killed her. He and his friend, a guy I knew casually, buried her in a shallow grave outside of town. FYI, small town, Central Oregon. I'd link to the case, but it's hard to find anything online. This happened about 1987, pre-internet. Anyway, she was just missing for some time, many months, when hunters discovered the grave and poop went from there. Edit 2. If anyone can find the info online, that would be cool. I can't find anything. The guy's name is Brian Ford and has happened in Bend, Oregon in about 1987. Allegedly, there was a girl who would film herself being intimate with her dog and sell the videos/pics. One of my friends ran a sports book out of his locker. He was turned in when someone owed him a significant amount of money and couldn't pay. They searched his locker and found his book and everyone that was involved. Everything was turned over to the police, but no charges were pressed, and he didn't even get suspended. 1. A teacher got banned from the school district because he put all of the big chest of female students at the front of his class and stared at them too. 2. A teacher got suspended for telling a black kid to go kill himself. 3. A guy used to wander around the parking lot asking anyone who walked by, "Cocaine? Want some cocaine?" The soundproof practice rooms for band are constantly being used for you-know-what. My high school football team had prostitutes delivered to their hotel. A mentally handicapped student beat up a teacher while yelling, "Where's my cookie?" Our band classroom was by the cafeteria and soda machines. There was this kid who always used to go absolutely crazy, like punch teachers and throw chairs crazy. One day, we see the vice principal dragging him by his hoodie while he is flailing and trying to hit him. Eventually, I think he had enough and chokeslammed this kid into the soda machine, like full-on threw him so hard he went through the plastic on the front of it. As far as I know, he never got in trouble for it because the kid was an absolute demon. This was in about grade 6, so about 13 to 14 years old. Our computer teacher was using school equipment to pirate all kinds of stuff. This was 2000 to 2002-ish. The guy was a dot-com millionaire who used his teaching job to just hang out with high school kids and have fun, in a non-creepy way. He spent his class building and upgrading our personal gaming machines, and he had a big CD case full of pirated operating systems and software. He'd used the budget the school gave him for hardware to buy the latest and greatest video cards, and our final for that class was a Quake 3 tournament. A group of his favorite students also worked at Blockbuster, so they'd take the pre-release DVDs to him, rip them, and upload them to piracy sites from the school's T1. On 9/11, I remember being in his class watching a cam version of the latest Spider-Man movie. We had 3 kids throw rocks and boulders into a busy road from the pedestrian overpass. One of the boulders smashed into a lady's car, killing her instantly. Lady was headed to her granddaughter's birthday party. The kids all went to jail. 3 from where I live in Florida. 1. Someone thought it would be funny to leave baby powder in the boys' bathroom and got the school locked down for an anthrax attack. We didn't get to go home until 7 p.m. 2. Bomb threats. So many bomb threats. 3. Legit race war. Super racist skinheads attacked a Puerto Rican student during lunch outside, blindsided him with a lunch tray. He started yelling, massive fight broke out, 30-plus students arrested. My friends and I watched from the other side of the courtyard in awe. Got to enter a witness report to police, too. Edit. My best comment is about witnessing drug deals and hate crimes in high school. I've got that going for me, so that's cool, I guess. Football team had an incident where somehow a Gatorade bottle ended up going up a freshman's butt. Edit. Hey, gold. Nice. Guy would burn copies of the new Eminem album for people for $5. Much illegal. Probably made a fortune. Who has $15 for a CD? Plus, mom said the language is too explicit, so she'll only buy me the Walmart censored version. This gangster guy beat the absolute frick out of another guy. We had a glass partition separating the outside court and the cafeteria. The guy that was being beat up grabbed the other guy and slammed his head against the glass window, and then the blood just fricking poured out. Unfortunately, I had to go around the fricking accident, and by the time I got to the cafeteria, they were out of tacos. It was a bummer. The press box at our football stadium was a notorious hotspot for getting high or drunk. Nobody seemed to care either. Out of sight, out of mind. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.